How many times have you guys heard this at the track? Man, my suspension sucks. Or, dude, you gotta get your suspension done by this company over here or that company over there. They're the best, they do the best everything. You can't take it to this guy. Or, man, I had my suspension redone by this shop and they said everything in there had been screwed up by the previous shop. We hear this all the time. So let's take a quick look at this set of suspension, which has been done by Factory Connection. This is for a 2020 KX450F. It's the same as a 19 all the way to current. They haven't really changed any of the parts and pieces. It's Showa 49mm forks. They're a spring fork, and they've got a Showa shock. This is half of it laid out. So this is an assembled mid-valve. This is a disassembled mid-valve, and you have the shim stacks here. Here's an assembled base valve for the fork. Here is a base valve that's been disassembled for the fork. Don't have the room to lay these shims out for you guys, but here's the base valve assembly. We're gonna pull this apart in a little bit and go through some of the settings on this. Now, is anything wrong with this suspension? No, they did wonderful work, as do most shops in the suspension industry. All of the work here is high quality. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's an excellent setting. It just didn't quite match this guy's needs, and that's what you need to understand about suspension. It's all about the setup for you and your wants and needs. There's no such thing as better or worse when it comes to the parts and technology that are used. If I showed you guys a set of stock suspension for this bike laid out, you guys wouldn't be able to tell a difference. Now, there is a difference in these settings than stock suspension. But for you guys, it would just look the same. This is a shock piston. Here's shock shims. Here's forks. Here's fork piston. All of that stuff would look the same to you guys because it is. It's the layout of these shim stacks that make the difference in damping. It's the selection of the oil weight you go with. It's the selection of your clicker settings. It's the selection and the shock of your spring rate and your linkage ratios, and all sorts of factors come into play. So this guy's complaint was that it was hard for him on big hits and landings. If he underjumped the jump, overjumped the jump, flat landed a roller, it felt really harsh to him. Now, a lot of shops will say, oh yeah, you need more fluid flow and it's just, it's not working. That's totally fake and completely not accurate to what's happening. For this guy's situation, I then have to ask him, hey, well, how does it feel in the little bumps? How does it feel in the braking bumps that aren't that big and if you're not going that fast? And he said, oh man, it feels really good. Actually, to be honest with you, it feels really cushy. It feels really plush. And that was indicator number one, that possibly those big hits were because harshness he was getting was because the suspension's a little too soft for those big hits. This guy's a big guy. He's about 6'3", 230 pounds, dripping wet, all solid muscle. And because of that, this suspension was just a little bit too soft for him on those hard hits, because what happened was the bike blows through your suspension travel and then all the remaining energy gets transferred to you at the bottom of the stroke. Is there anything wrong with this setup? No. It's just not quite right for his needs, wants, and desires. So the moral of the story is, guess what? A lot of shops do great work. This is great work. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't quite suit where he's at right now, the local tracks that he likes to ride. And because of that, we're here servicing it. We're doing fresh setup on it. We're going to do new seals, new bushings, new parts and pieces so that it lasts him for another service interval. And then we're also going to go ahead and firm it up a little bit for him for these big hits that are of a big concern for him. Now, it's a trade-off. It's not going to be quite as plush on the little stuff. But that's okay, because this guy really has a preference towards the larger hits being important to him. And the littler bumps were not an issue to him. All right, guys, I'm Derek Harris here at HP Race Development, and I just want to say thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.